Hello. Today I will be working on an upgrade on my drum triggers. Sometime back I took and converted over the Alesis Nitro, converted them over or upgraded them by using a set of no acoustic drums that got damaged in storage. So I made the tom pads bigger with mesh heads, and I have been working around with versatile triggering setups, and there's really no patent on a certain way of doing these triggers. It's just finding something that works for you and go with it. I first started out right in the middle, and I was getting terrible hot spots. Even though I'd cut the sensitivity down and the reverb versus settings in the drums we would adjust, and it still seemed to give the problem. So I done some research, and I came up with the idea of through and by other people's videos and research, I dropped the triggers down a little bit, and I first used just a piece of high density foam used from a sanding block that originally had sandpaper on it. I think that's about a 3x4 or 3x5 block that you will buy at your hardware store. And I first just put the piezo down on with a double stick tape down on this is a piece of paneling cut to make the foundation to put the triggers on. You can use just a little block over, or you can use just a piece on the little side bracket. Like I said, there's no certain way of doing this. Just whatever works for you. And I would use the double stick tape, put the piezo down on it, and then I would put the double stick tape with the sanding block on top, which there's videos on a feller that made a homemade set of drums out of oak, I think it was. Beautiful drum set. Very good ingenuity in that and work that he put into it. And so that's where the sanding block came from. Now, that didn't seem to work. I was getting, still getting a real loud wham, even though I cut my sensitivity down. And when you drop these from the center, more you drop your sensitivity, more you're going to start losing your effects from the drum, or the ability for it to work right, farther away from it. Okay, so I had some old yoga mat that I had built my drum plates out of from another video I watched, and which they were so heavy that this little drum stand or rack, this wasn't going to support it. So I had to lighten the load a little bit. Time you got all them metal plates in there, a 1/4 piece of wood, and all of that foam that goes with it, this drum kit just wouldn't hold it. So it worked good. That said, I come up with a piece of yoga mat, and so in a video earlier, I'd put that down and my piezo on it, and then the sanding block on top. Might hefty. But what I got then was a flutter-like, or a double trigger when you hit it, which the video that I will do when I hook it up to the computer will show exactly what I'm talking about. But it was like a flutter or a double trigger. I mean, I like ghost notes, but you know, ghost notes don't fit everywhere. So I've come up with this theory here of making a fake trigger, or a muffled trigger is basically what we're looking at. And I just used the same setup that I used on the original trigger, exception that we don't have a piezo transducer in it. It's just a fakey. So I call it my muffler trigger. Okay, that said, I now have it together, and I just simply glued it down with hot glue, weather stripping glue, any kind of glue that you can use that will stick this and hold it and stay is fine. So that said, and I now have this built, and you will adjust it the same as you will adjust this one. And in fact, you will want it about 1/4 above the drum shell. But I have the ability to go underneath and adjust these plates any way I want to go with it. Up, down, sideways, or you know, sometimes you cut these and you need to go different ways. So I will adjust from the bottom by pushing pressure on it. That seemed to work better for me. So that said, we will get this together and see how this thing triggers, and we'll go from there. Hello, I now have the drum kit hooked up to the computer, and in just a moment we will switch over to the computer and I will show you some demos on what is taking place of the fluttering or the problem that I am having with the triggering or the mesh heads, or hey, whatever we got going on. I will do a demo on that, and I will also do a demo on the effects of the trigger. Anytime that you muffler something, you dampen it down, you choke the sound, if you will. I mean, that's kind of what goes on. And the only problem that I found with the triggering, with the muffler trigger, let's call it a muffler trigger, works for me. Okay, in the diameter that we put the muffler trigger, which, if you remember, we put it right at the top here, approximately, probably 2 inches down from the top, 6 inches approximately from the other real trigger, which is at the bottom. The only thing that I have found, and I will do the demo on it as well, it's right in the area of the muffler trigger that we put in. It mufflers it more than on the rest of the drum kit. But you still have the rest of the drum kit just in that area of the muffling, which that's not a problem with me. This stinking fluttering or whatever it's doing is my problem. I'm back on the hi-hat playing and the tom or the snare is still doing the fluttering or whatever the stinking thing's doing. So that seems to help that problem a whole lot. So let's switch over to the computer now, and I will show you these demos on what we have going on. Let me know, Tom 1 has been fixed with the muffler. Tom 2 has not. Okay, that said, let's switch over to the computer. Here goes. Well, we got them all together. We got our trigger mufflers in and adjusted the best that we can get these things adjusted. Now we will play the things and see how they go. So, here goes.